Okay, hello everyone. I think people will keep joining in. So it's a pretty interesting topic, and I can correlate with my experience. So when I used to be work in the bank and driving the digital banking, as well as the when we started building open banking, APIs, and all these things, the fintech partnership started growing. And one of the challenge used to happen to go live last leg, taking approval from the CISOs. And always there was a good reason behind it, and it was never been unreasonable for sure, right? Because CISOs are the gatekeeper, right? And they have to make sure that customer data, whether is directly coming to the bank or is coming from the any partners, right? It need to be protected, and that's where that discussion gets started. And data security and the privacy becomes very critical component to entire banking and fintech relationship. So with this context, I'll get started with Anuprita, because she's also in CISO there and driving that the cybersecurity for the bank. And if you know, Yes Bank has been one of the pioneer and early starter on the consuming the APIs, right, and building the fintech relationships way back in 2013, where that today it may be buzzword everybody is talking about, but I think 2013 where that they started relationship, building the APIs, and also started doing the corporate integrations with their ERPs and the CBS. Then that's also is a critical component. So with that context, Rita, with your experience, what are the typical security considerations that need to be taken care by the banks when it comes to the any fintech onboarding? Be it could be any service provider, be it on the payments, lending, or across all the financial services.
So I'm sure rest of the people has gone for the master class because at the same time this is a cybersecurity master class. So I'm assuming that.
No. Cybersecurity masterclass is not there. It's just I think a session got broken, and I think people will
No,
keep
that's
joining.
okay. I think with due respect to whoever is there. So cybersecurity doesn't come like only one company. Cybersecurity goes around. Uh, the way like I'm considering like most of the people are from business side. So if we have a customer, then how do we take care of customer needs? And digital platform gives you acceleration for expanding your business, but at the same time it also increases the threat multifold, right? And what is important is what happens is that when fintech provides the services and then they have integration, and as you mentioned that Yes Bank was initially the pioneer in making it like a API banking. Uh, so when you have one company and which is directly integrated with your company, so multiple points, right? One is that you are collecting the data on behalf of bank. Second thing is you are connecting to the banking services, and one leak or one step, and then you are either you're breach or you're not breach, right? And if you're breach, then we cannot even envisage that how much will be the risk, right? How much will be the loss to the bank and loss to the customer. For example, if there's a physical, uh, you know, the physical attack on the bank or any company, right? Then you know that okay, in this branch, this much is only money I am having it, so I'm having risk only up to this level. But when there is a digital level, this is the whole company, this is the whole customer base, and fintech plays a good role in the innovation because I think that is the biggest benefit and the strength what they get it in innovation perspective. I think innovation, if we combine with the perspective on a regulatory perspective, the perspective on the customer perspective, I think if we have those both the things combined together, it might not be the acceleration what we try to do move from, let's say, 10 miles per hour, 200 or 200 miles per hour, but we need to have in between and we need to have really the right breaks, having implementation as a framework, as a governance framework, as a technology framework, risk controls, try and figure out like, okay, what could be a proactive risk, because although the bank is accountable for all the customer security, but still fintech being a partner, obviously now those are not the days where we say that only bank is accountable, because fintech partners are also accountable. And some of the examples, if you see that, for example, Analytica was using the data of Facebook, but the way the data was being used, okay, that has created so much of mess. And I mean, I'm just giving one example, and afterwards, if you follow some security incident on when you are collecting the data and either you have outsourced or you are processing it, whether there is any exploitation to that. And maybe I think a couple of months back, there was another thing that, one of the partner has collected the data. That partner was not supposed to store the data because regulatory guideline talks about not storing the data, but then data was stored where there were non-compliances, and then we do not know what could be exploitation of data. So I think you also, along with the innovation, if you understand what different guideline talks about it, and acceleration along with the break, when we do that, then that is a sustainable model. And even from banking perspective, I think that is always appreciated. And we also want innovation to come in. We also want expansion in inorganic growth that way. But we also want, along with that, we also want the matured systems to connect to our environment.
Thanks, Anuprita, for giving the initial context. Now, many times, this is more from the bank side, but when the fintech comes on board, and mostly these guys are pretty young guys with some experience, not in a larger teams. They will be primarily the developers, building some kind of the platforms based on their experience. Not much of, at least I've seen many of the guys may not have any kind of the security guy also on their team side, right? Forget about the being CISO having there. Some of the large fintech may have the CISO, but most of the fintechs will not have the CISO. They don't understand also, right? They just need to know the coding part of it and build anything. So how does, as a banks, you try to handhold them in understanding the bank security requirements, help them to enable those solutions on their platform so that at least it's protect the data security and concern for the banks that is there. So it's primarily I just looking at your role as an enabler to help them to take care of the security requirements for the bank.
So I think you really pointed out a right question, right? Because if you see the innovation, most of the innovation starts right from your graduation, right? And that is the recent trend, like maybe last 5 to 10 years. There are a lot of, and colleges have come out as an incubation center. College is also giving the direction, and there are other industry players also. We're really hand-holding them, because that time there is a lot of energy, a lot of concept area you work on that. And what you rightly pointed out that, because some of the companies have CISOs, some of the companies may not have CISOs or may not have maturity or even understanding. So from bank perspective, we understand that, there is a customer data protection, what we need to take care of it. So one is, as we were just having a chat in the background before this, that one is the when we onboard, right? That time, first time itself that, we tried to, and again, as you said, we are the gatekeeper. First is that once the person comes in, then there's no point in accessing access rights, right? So you lock your gates first, right? Give them right access cards. And that is just example I'm talking about is that when we do the onboarding, that first what we try to find out that, okay, what is the maturity model of it? And it becomes annoyance, saying that, because what we do is that first thing is that, okay, get a questionnaire. That itself gives us some understanding about what is the maturity of the company. And afterwards, definitely, from the partnership perspective, obviously we also go and have and talk with the partner, try and understand, try to give it like a couple of times it happens that, okay, out of assessment, there are few assessments done, but maybe 1 or 2 assessments are not done. And we also, in the background, whatever n number of applications what we have, we also do those assessments. So we also offer them that, okay, these are the partners what we have who can do it. And also at times we have also saying that, at volume we are having some rate card. Maybe if we can give that benefit to you, we'll pass on that benefit to you. Because eventually the objective is to have a stronger setup, to set up the baseline first while we are inducting that time itself. And afterwards, ongoing is obviously, we go and meet. And in critical partners, what we try to find out, like, okay, if whatever the small reading what you might have done about cybersecurity is not, again, it's not a physical perimeter, right? Everybody talks about perimeterless security. Now there is no perimeter because you have cloud, you have work from home. So there is no perimeter, perimeters are blurred. So these are a lot of buzzwords what you might be hearing it, and which is the fact right now. Now when there is no perimeter, okay, so there are 2 threats, okay. One is external threat, second is insider threat. And in external threat, that is the most vulnerable, and there are some tools also which are available now, which also gives you that being outside, if I'm a hacker, okay, what is the visibility what I have for this company? Because I have easily accessible open reports, I just go and exploit those, right? So from priority perspective, if you see, that ring fence your area, right? Ring fence, even if you have a perimeter list, ring fence with whatever the accessibility hacker may have it. First fix that, right? So you have closed one door, then he has to open the second door, which is your insider threat, right? And then there can be multiple monitoring. So when we do this partnership perspective, we try and engage. It's just that, maybe from other side, when there is a two-way dialogue which comes in, we also feel very happy that overall from the, it's not only from the bank perspective, bank is the first primary, but even if we see, there are a couple of incidents I'd just like to share with you.
Absolutely.
Because we work a lot with the government, and maybe some of you might be aware, but at Ministry of Electronics and Telecommunication, there is a department which is set up at I4C, and who does all this investigation. You might be aware about, there was, in last 2 years, there was big fraud happening on the digital lending perspective, right? The money was given, and then afterwards there was a collection, and because of that, a lot of people have done suicide. And also similar kind of incidents also happen, that when you don't get direct access to the bank, you come through a partner, right? And through partner application, when we have direct integration, there are some incidents which we have seen that through partner, there is a money siphoning which is happening, and that is going to, maybe the different countries which we have in last 2.5 years, which we have banned. And how does it happen? Because the way the cloud instance can be made, that instance you can have in India, but the other countries have, and there are a lot of state sponsor attacks which happen.
Yeah.
State sponsor is like other country governments are sponsoring those attacks to the Indian economy, right? And this is at a geopolitical level. But finally, we become the guinea pig of that. We become the victim of that. And there's huge amount of money which is getting siphoned. And that's where partner also plays a very, very big role in setting up this stronger framework, stronger technology controls, because overall it doesn't impact on only one bank or one company. It actually becomes an impact on the country's economy also. So I think that setting up the very strong framework is very, very important. There is a start, but I think a long way to go.
No, thanks. Pretty good. Now, just like she has started giving an indication also. Okay. So one thing very critical, like when any bank and fintech partnership and new products get launched, multiple party teams are involved in the back end, like product team, the sales team, the alliances teams, then technology team, the digital team, compliance and risk is also there. How do you try to create a consensus and the balance while making sure that the organization interest is saved and the timelines is also being added? How do you try to create a balance between all the different stakeholders, because everybody is trying to pull in that different direction, right?
I think this is also very, very critical, because again, whatever the theory, what we talk, but practically we try to implement is which is like first time right, or security by design. So what we do, security by design, security is not only a technology, security is also a product level, right? Whether you have real-time fraud risk monitoring, whether you have, reconciliation. So when we define the product, within product, we call it as a product process note, which is also RBI guideline, but also internally we really religiously follow. So when we define the product, that product time itself, we try to include all our operational risk related, compliance related, security related controls or business process controls or product level controls and all these processes and everything. We try to include it as a part of our product design itself, and the same product design then becomes a part of the development. So we at least try to cover maximum part as a part of product design, where business they themselves are thinking about the security, and everybody is there. So as a part of product approval, all these stakeholders are a part of those approvals, and afterwards post facto whatever has been missed out, that becomes the post facto implementation or fixing it.
I think this is a very interesting point you brought out. In fact, when I started working in the bank, I used to tell my CISO that can work with me when I'm building the product, or whenever the new partnership has come up. This is the solution. You give me your requirement at this stage, rather than coming for the sign off and then you start doing the audit and everything. And normally used to happen that he used to start giving the requirements at that time. Now that you have entire complete development cycle you have completed, and now it's just coming, and it used to delay that entire project. So I think that's also we adopted. We started getting all the requirements at the upfront and sharing the checklist with the partners. In fact, many a times because most of the solutions are coming from the app, right? And if anything happen on the partner's app, it has a backward impact. So whatever the requirement is also from the app side also, you give it at the upfront, and then we build in the solution into that.
Yeah. One more thing just to add, like you have, like as I mentioned about product level, then technology development level, at each level you try to include. One more thing, what is very important is the awareness part of it. If business understands why cybersecurity is very important, that itself gives, it solves my purpose of 50% problem is solved. Second thing is, even with the partner, we try to do engagement, we try to do some annual activity or something. So even partner is also equal part of it. So that also we try to do it. So I think there is no end to it. It's just that, we can try and cover as much as possible. But awareness is very, very critical. Let's say, if you see how many phishing attacks are happening, how many people have not seen any phishing attack? Everybody. So now, 2 years back, phishing attack might have been only a theory, but today in last 2 years, the way UPI has taken over, now the CBDC, the way CBDC is going to come up, I think the phishing attacks are going to be there. So whatever the awareness what we can do, that is a very, very proactive method of fixing a lot of issues will be.
Thank you, Anuprita. I think it's cybersecurity is also continuously evolving, right? The threats are evolving, and banking fintech partnership is also will go through this whole maturity process. So I think everybody has to play their role. CISO has their important role to play. The security is a typical important concern. So with that note, and thanks Anuprita for sharing your free flowing thoughts and guiding us. I'm sure in the recording also people will try to pick up some of the important thoughts because that's very critical for building that relation. Thank you for taking your time and being with us. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shashank. Thank you.